Hi,
Hello.
Toby. So we've just been having a laugh. We had a really sort of downer of a conversation and then brought it back into the light. So thanks very much for talking to us today. You haven't always been an artist, though. So what came before you became an artist?
Um, I've, I guess I've always been an artist in that I've always painted, right
Right.
from being a child.
Uh,
So I can remember sitting in the playground at infant school, aged 7, with a pencil and piece of paper, drawing, and having a group of kids around me watching me do that.
oh, wow.
So I think as far back as I can remember, I've always drawn and painted.
So that's an
But
innate talent, isn't it, then?
Um, I'm not sure it's a talent, but I guess I've always just done it.
Okay.
Um, but my mum, bless her heart, of course, thought that art wasn't a proper job. And of course, it's not a proper job, is it really? You know, as these things go. So I had a proper job, and that proper job happened to be medicine. So I was a doctor.
Right.
So I did medicine for 21 years,
Wow.
faithful and efficient service to the NHS
So was that
as a GP.
as a GP or specialist?
Yeah, started out as a GP, but it was all a long time ago. And in those days, the hospital could ring you up and say, "Oh, we haven't got a dermatologist um, to do any clinics. Can you come and do some dermatology?" It would never happen these days. It's all about specialist training and all the rest of it. But in
Mm.
those days, they rang me up and said, "Oh, can you come and do some dermatology?" And I went, "Oh, okay, I guess so." I was working part time, so I ended up doing more dermatology than general practice. And I'm fairly neat, so I was quite a good surgeon. I
Okay.
ended up cutting out lots of skin cancers from people's faces and giving them invisible scars.
Oh, very good. Well done. I bet they're very happy.
Yeah, that's right. So there's loads of people walking around out there with scars that you can't see. But it's a bit of a game, you fit the scars into the little lines and they disappear. So yeah,
Brilliant.
21 years of that.
Hence your skill with the scalpel and gilding.
Yeah, yeah, it was useful for some things. So,
Yeah,
thanks, Mum.
yeah.
It held me in
So
good stead.
are you glad or regretful that you're out of the NHS during this time?
Oh, thrilled. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, I retired 15 years ago now, so it's a long
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Resigned. Well, I
Okay.
was too young to retire.
I was going
But
to say,
my husband's also a GP, and he retired 3 years ago, or just under, and
yeah.
he went back. And the idea was that he'd go back and help his old surgery out.
Yeah.
But round us, coronavirus never got that bad.
Oh,
So he ended up doing answering the COVID 111 line remotely from home. It was a complete nightmare, but
God.
in many ways, which is not part of this conversation, but
So we'll move on. Yeah.
we'll move on. I was very
Yeah.
glad to
Okay.
be out of it. Yeah.
So you've such a wide set of creative skills. Um, how when did you get into the illuminating, the traditional skills?
So I gave up medicine because I had a terminally ill mother.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I'm a people person. I like people. I like, I like chatting, as you guess. Um, so I went from doing medicine to sitting at home on my own,
Uh,
because what do you do when the kids are at school and your husband's gone to work? So I decided I'd do a degree in art history.
oh,
And then I did a master's in art history
oh,
for fun, as you do. But as part of that, we were looking at process, how things were made.
yeah.
And I went to look at the manuscripts in our local cathedral and looked at the paint and wondered how the paint was made. It was kind of, how did they do that? What did they use? And I just genuinely didn't know.
Yeah.
So it came from a kind of, let's find out how that was done.
Oh, the best.
Yeah. So I found out how they made paint. So I came into this whole thing through paint making.
Okay.
And then, you know, once I could make paint, it was all, how did they get the gold to stick then? That's a whole different thing. So it's just through curiosity, nothing more than that.
So actually you taught yourself those skills through research?
Partly. So I partly learned about paint making through reading, you know, translations of medieval texts, which are fascinating. And partly through, I did a week's course with a guy called David Cranswick in London.
Okay. Yeah.
Which was interesting on many levels. I'm not going to go any further than that. Those who know David will know he's quite a character. We had a fun time.
I'm going to ask you another question.
Sorry?
I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay, go.
You were awarded Wildlife Artist of the Year.
Yeah.
You were, amongst other awards, I might add. And you travelled to paint in those habitats. So
Yeah.
where did you enjoy going the most?
That's a really tricky one, actually, because they're all so different.
Yeah.
But I guess the place that I would like to go back to is back to the Arctic.
Oh, right.
So I'd like to go back north.
Okay.
Because I like that whole snow and ice and glacier thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, that habitat won't be there forever.
No.
Because the glaciers are melting so quickly now.
Yes.
And we were lucky enough, it was my husband's retirement trip, and we went up to Svalbard, Spitsbergen.
Right. Yeah.
And it was fabulous, but, you know, you could see the pictures of the glaciers. You know, we looked at before and after pictures and looked at the, you know, the melting, which is very marked. And we were lucky enough to see polar bears that looked well. But I guess that won't always be the case. So
No.
I'd quite like to get back there, but, you know, you can't do it socially distanced, really. You know, you have to be on a boat. So,
Not until you're there.
tricky, it's tricky, yeah.
And have you had any mishaps on your travels?
Not really, no physical mishaps. When we went up to the Arctic, we flew up to Oslo and then up to Svalbard, and then managed to lose my luggage between Heathrow and Spitsbergen. And we'd got lazy, actually, because we travel so much. We just, we used to half and half, put half our belongings in each other's cases. Then we didn't do that for Spitsbergen because nothing's gone wrong for a very long time. So all my stuff was in my case, and half my case was full of art materials, of course, carefully chosen over the course of the previous month. And the whole lot got lost in transit. And unfortunately, we arrived, you know, in the morning of the day we were due to depart on a boat to sail around the coast of. So there was no time for the case to catch up with me, which meant that we had to go. I had no clothes. So, you know, I'm in Longyearbyen, which is a one-street town in the Arctic, running up and down the high street trying to find pants. Okay. Where do you buy pants in Longyearbyen? So it turns out that you get them from the co-op. Okay.
Of course.
In case you're ever stuck there. But it did mean I had no art materials apart from an iPad, so I had to learn to draw on an iPad. Which
newfound skills.
A new thing. Who knew?
So that was an advantage, really. Then.
Well, I guess so. I have to say I've not done much since because I like the paint in my hand, really. But
yeah, of course.
But still,
it's like sort of one space removed, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah.
On screen. Yeah.
Yeah, but it worked, and it gave me a way to draw.
Yeah. And are there any animals that you wouldn't want to paint?
not animals as such, but I've never been drawn to painting fish.
Okay, creatures.
Or
Yes.
creatures, yeah. Fish don't
Not
do
into
anything
fish.
for me. No, there are some great artists who paint fish underwater, and I really appreciate, the skill that goes into that.
Yeah.
But I'd rather they had fur and eyes, really, or even scales and eyes. But
Yeah.
yeah, fish I can leave.
Yeah. Okay. Your classic paintings are particularly atmospheric. I find them very atmospheric. They
What,
really,
the wildlife stuff?
yeah, they
Yeah.
really do capture the essence of not only the animal but the habitat as well. It's a difficult question to answer probably, but how do you think you capture that? What enables you to do that, do you think?
It is a difficult question, but I think, I'm not primarily interested in painting animals on lovely sunny days. I like a bit of murk, a bit of mood.
Yeah. Okay.
And I always used to paint in acrylic, which
Yes.
I hardly do these days.
Okay.
But I always used to paint in acrylic, but in almost used like a watercolor, so very thin,
Right.
and layer it up.
Just
So
glaze
I
upon
like,
glaze.
yeah, glaze upon glaze, so it's very slow. But I like that. I like mist and
Yeah.
rain
Yeah.
and ice and all those kind of slightly moody
Yeah.
environments. Give me a kind of blackbird on a sunny day, and it doesn't work quite so well for me.
But your wren in the autumn leaves with the mist,
Oh yeah,
it's just, you're right there. You can hear them singing, you can hear the crispness of the leaves under your feet, but
yeah,
you can't see through the trees. It's perfect.
yeah. And that whole raindrop thing, I really like painting raindrops. I just like murk. It must be some character defect, I think.
So actually, my next question was going to be about acrylics. It appeared to me that a lot of your wildlife paintings were in acrylics, but
Pretty much all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So what other medium? You say you don't use them so much now. What
I think
other
it
mediums do you
primarily,
like to work with?
yeah, primarily because I'm not painting much wildlife.
Wildlife. Okay.
Although that may change, I may go back to it.
Yeah.
Because we're living in strange times, aren't we? And there is a kind of I don't know, a kind of what do you do next? Do I go back to the whole wildlife thing? And I may do that.
Yeah.
And if I can't teach gilding, that's a bit of a sad old do. But if I can't do it, then it'd be nice to have a different project. I need a new project, really. And it's difficult to know what that is at the moment.
Well, I'm just thinking about that actually, because the atmospherics in your paintings appeal, especially to those who can't get out and about actually, because they touch the heart as much as the eye, because you feel what it's like to be there. And in that respect, they're probably going to be real winners. Yeah, because
it's an
feeling a
interesting
lot, aren't we?
Observation, actually. And the thing I've really loved about, I haven't loved anything about lockdown, let's get this right, or coronavirus or anything. I think the whole thing has been dreadful and so heartbreaking on so many levels. But the thing I really appreciated, shall we say, is the ability, when we could, to get out for a little bit of exercise and just to see the world.
Yeah.
And that was, kind of quite amazing, wasn't it? After being stuck in.
The value level is so steep, isn't it? Because you weren't in contact with it all around you. And all of a sudden, when we were allowed out and we could go further afield. Yeah, that's true.
So maybe I'll go back to it. Maybe.
And
autumn's coming.
Autumn's coming, yes. That's another, tying in with all of that. What is it that you like the most or appreciate the most about the medium of silver point? Because you do silver point. And not that many people in this country do.
no. And that's partly to do with the making aspect.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea that, you know, I could, if I wanted to, make some paper. You know, I could make some paint out of things that are growing in my garden.
Yeah.
You know, I could stick some gold on with what I've got in my fridge,
Yeah.
and I could make it into a book,
Yeah.
you know, using just what I have here
Yeah.
without any expensive stuff bought from anywhere or anything that had chemicals in it. I could just do all that.
Yeah.
And I love that. And Silver Point kind of comes under that category in
Sure.
that, you know, I like the kind of physicality of it because, you know, it's just a piece of silver or a
Yeah.
piece of metal, isn't it? On a piece of
Yes.
paper treated with something to roughen it.
Yeah, because other metals work as well, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. So I've
Yeah.
got all sorts of kind of brass brush, you know, little brushes and bits of metal and bits of wire wool and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But you can make marks with any of them. So that's
Yeah.
very appealing. But also I quite like the delicacy of the line.
Oh, it's
Um,
the most sensitive medium, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. So it's very beautiful in its delicacy because you can't get the darks with it
No,
particularly well.
no.
And of course it shines, what's not to like. So
Yes, absolutely. It does both for us, doesn't it?
it
The
does.
thing of the
Yeah,
guilty, but the delicacy of line.
yeah.
I was amused when I went to see the one and only exhibition that's been in this country at the British Museum, was it, or the V&A?
Yeah, I was
Anyway,
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was interested to see this sort of piece of wood, and it was talking about how the students used to mix calcium carbonate with spit and just
yes,
lather it on the
yeah,
wood, give it a rub down, and away they
yeah,
went. And
yeah,
I thought, yeah, because it comes back to that point that you can do that with what you've got in the house.
yeah, yeah. And I love that. And one of the things that put me off acrylics a little bit was the kind of plasticity of them.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, they're the least environmentally friendly paints,
yeah,
really, aren't they? You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
when if you look at it, when push comes to shove,
yeah.
they behave very well, but
Yes, I have
yeah.
to think clearly about whether I'm going to use them now that we have a septic tank, because I can't pour it down there. So
No,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
You do have to
Makes you
just,
environmentally conscious, doesn't it?
yeah, it does definitely.
So your involvement with calligraphy has increased in latter years. So how's that going then?
Oh God, it's
No, go
so.
on, because
Am I allowed to? I won't swear, but it's so difficult. It's so difficult.
we all
It's
know
so
that.
it's so much more difficult than painting.
Yeah,
Honestly, you know, pick up a brush and I can churn out a picture of a robin in 10 minutes. But calligraphies, oh my God.
yeah.
Anyway, I've just finished a 5-week online course with John Stevens.
Oh, my idol.
Absolutely,
He
which has
is.
been just phenomenal,
So that's
actually.
the italic one, is it? Yes.
That's the italic one.
Yeah.
But really interesting, both in kind of the way he produces his letter forms and his philosophy almost.
Yes.
Highly recommended. It's been fabulous.
Yes.
So, yeah, just this is the last week or the last couple of days of that, actually.
Yeah.
And I have to say that my calligraphy has improved.
Oh, I don't think it could help but do so with
No,
Jonathan,
and
the teacher.
guess what? Here's a real astonishing thing that if you practice, who knew that you actually get better?
Yeah, thank you.
So
That's what I tell people all the time.
yeah, radical. So
Yeah.
you know, I've been doing quite a lot of calligraphy, and
But
it
he
has
gives
been a
you
battle.
the opportunity to think about it differently, and so your understanding of letter form is then enhanced by the practical talent, skills that he
Yeah,
shows you, and
yeah.
and the world's your oyster then, isn't it? Off you go.
Yeah, I don't
Just
think it's
let's say
quite that
yes to
easy.
that.
Am I? Okay, yes, Josie. Well, for me, it's slightly more difficult because I've always got this kind of play off between do I paint wildlife okay, can I add wildlife to words? Can I add words to gilding? Can I combine the three? I don't know that I can.
Right.
But there's always that kind of, how do I play these various skills off with each other, or do I keep them all separate?
Yeah.
So I'm not quite there in a kind of off I go into the sunset singing happily.
So the next thing for you to learn then, or to branch into, is brush lettering.
Oh, it's so difficult though.
It's sort of harder, but you know your brushes, and in that respect, it's much easier to merge painted images with lettering.
Well, it's not. I'm not sure that it is.
Okay.
Because the two are read completely differently, aren't they? The written word and the visual image are read very differently.
Yes.
So, I always wonder whether the image detracts from the text, because with calligraphy, the text is everything and it's written, in a certain way, in a certain weight, a certain script to convey the message. And then you plonk an image there and maybe that detracts.
But
and maybe the writing detracts from the image as well. Maybe the image, like the wren, maybe it stands alone without the need for text.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then maybe if you throw gold into the mix, that detracts from both of them, because then you're screwed, aren't you? Sorry, everybody. But then you've got shiny gold to look at. You think, well, what do I look at then in this thing?
Yeah. But you've got a trilogy. You've then got a trilogy, haven't you? And that's never a bad thing, composition-wise.
Yeah, but it's tricky, isn't it? So
it's very tricky.
I haven't yet sorted that. And maybe
I'm not
I never
sure
will.
that many people have, to be fair.
No, I think it may be unsortable, but it won't stop me having fun trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I just want to see what's so. Yes, okay. So, what are you You said you've been working with John. What are you currently working on then? His practice, or is there something else?
So I've just finished a commission which has gone to Alaska. I'm just finishing a commission for a Latvian wedding.
Yeah.
Full of Latvian symbols.
Yeah.
Then my next commission is for a painting of a stag, a red deer stag with gold all around it. So surrounded by gold on gesso.
Yeah. I'm shaking in anticipation.
And I am putting an illuminated border on a poem written in tiny calligraphy, italic.
Okay.
Which nobody will probably ever get to see. I'll probably just hide it.
Oh, shame. Yeah. But the thing is, if you don't do these things, you don't know if they're going to work or not, do you? So
no, you have to play with it, don't you?
You've been, twiddling your thumbs, have you, through this time?
No. I mean, I had commissions lined up all the way through the year.
Excellent.
And the Red Deer one, I can move forward. I was supposed to be in Korea teaching, South Korea, but obviously, that's not a thing.
No.
So
we won't go back to that.
No, we won't go back to that.
Calligraphically, then, have you got any future plans for your development, kind of thing?
No, because it's to get better. Let's say that. To get better.
Oh, well, you're with us.
I'm good enough teacher.
We're all doing that. Okay, last question. Okay. What little thing or big thing could you tell us that we don't know about you?
Oh, blimey!
You didn't know that one was coming, did you?
No. What shall I tell you? Let's try and tell you something non-contentious.
It can be contentious if you wish.
Okay. How's about we have a new motorbike?
Oh, Ace!
That's a good one.
Come on, tell me about your motorbike.
So our current motorbike is a Royal Enfield Interceptor.
Oh, lovely!
Which is just the most beautiful machine. So we've always had a motorbike. I met my husband when we were 18. and we used to, I used to scoot around on the back of his MZ in a, a blue cotton skirt and a silk blouse. Okay, no protective gear at all. So we've always had a motorbike, and the last one was a Ducati, which is a big, bulky, super powerful jobby.
Yeah.
So now we've got the Interceptor.
Oh, wow.
Bringing us a great deal of joy whizzing around the countryside.
Yeah. And comfortably.
Sorry?
And comfortably.
Comfortably, yeah. I mean, I broke my coccyx in a horse riding fall. I fell off a horse going at a gallop.
Ooh.
So everything's, a little bit uncomfortable, but it won't stop me getting on the back of the bike.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. We used to ride trial bikes, actually, which is why my knees aren't as they should be, really.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so
Tony,
we're loving it.
Fantastic talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been fun. And thank you for inviting me. And let's hope we get a vaccine and that's safe and effective, and we can all get back to normal and get back together, because I miss people, actually.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to get together with people again.
And we'd love to have you come back down. Thanks so much for chatting.